Hi, this is Jay, November 6 Sierra Alpha Charlie, and we're continuing our series of net control training with talking about how do we acknowledge the stations that check in during the net. If I check into a net, and this is true of any net, not just our net, but if I'm checking in, November 6 Sierra Alpha Charlie, the very next thing I want to hear from net control is my own call sign repeated right back to me. November 6 Sierra Alpha Charlie, we got you checked in. That gives me the highest confidence. That gives me the warmest fuzzies that yes, net control heard me correctly and we can move on with the net. Now contrast that with if I checked in November 6 Sierra Alpha Charlie and I hear net control say something like, okay, we've got you checked in. That leaves a little bit of doubt, right? Because with repeaters, we have doubles, triples, right? We have multiple stations that are broadcasting at the same time. And sometimes you can hear that through the repeater, many times you can't. So when net control says I've got you checked in, I'm not 100% confident they were talking to me. It would be better if I heard my call sign. If I check in, November 6 Sierra Alpha Charlie, and I hear net control repeat somebody else's call sign back of being checked in, that's a clue to me that net control did not hear me. And I need to try again under all the right protocols, right? Now, for our net, we also have a tactical call sign, right? We have reserved station numbers for the Sacramento County ARES members. And that tactical call sign is almost just as good as your regular call sign. So if I check in saying station 115, November 6 Sierra Alpha Charlie, and I hear net control repeat back, we've got station 115 checked in. All right, that's pretty good. That lets me know they heard 115, they heard me. I can be much more confident that they've got me checked in versus just okay, I've got you checked in. So those doubles, right? On our repeater, when you key up, a couple of things happen. First off, you don't hear yourself through your transceiver, right? Depending on your transceiver, but most, when you key up, you don't hear. So you don't know that you're doubling with somebody else yet. And when you key up, the repeater has to detect you and then turn around and start broadcasting on the output frequency. And so that little split second means there could be another station who is doing the exact same thing as you are at the exact same time. Combine that with a second repeater, like what we have for our nets, and that can happen, the chances of that happening increases, where multiple operators are keying up at the same time, the repeaters are syncing with each other, and chances are net control is only going to be able to hear one at best. Sometimes you can't hear either one of them because of the heterodyne that happens. I've got some examples of what to do during a double. So let's listen to some audio and we'll talk about how to glean what you can from that broadcast and then what you can do to acknowledge the right stations. All right, what you're going to hear are examples from our net. I'll play two examples. I'll first play the double and then give a little description and give you a chance to listen to it one more time. Let's listen to the first example of a double.
Next visiting station.
Kilo Bravo 6, Delta Sierra Alpha, Bear Oak.
Station.
All right, in this example, you can hear there's a lot of noise this evening. And the station checks in, clearly a female voice, and then a male voice comes in right behind with a word that might be station, it might be Jason, it's hard to tell. Let's listen again and hear how the net control operator handled this double.
Next visiting station.
Kilo Bravo 6, Delta Sierra Alpha, Bear Oak.
Station. We had a double there. I did get Kilo Bravo 6, Delta Sierra Alpha. We've got you checked in, thank you. With that other station, please try again.
Gary, Whiskey Alpha 6, Fox, Golf India, no affiliation.
Whiskey Alpha 6, Foxtrot Golf India. We've got you checked in as well, thank you. Next visiting station.
All right, and now we're going to listen to a second example of a double.
Kilo Juliet 6,
Papa, India Kilo. Ralph and Ria Linda, no affiliation.
Member, Yolo County ARES.
All right, in this example, the station ending in Papa India Kilo, you can hear that heterodyne just below his voice. And as a net control operator, you'll begin to recognize that sound as a clue that a double is occurring. That station finishes their check-in with the phrase no affiliation, but there's a second voice that finishes the sentence by saying Yolo County ARES. Let's listen again and hear how our net control operator handled this double.
Kilo Julia 6, Papa, India Kilo. Ralph and Ria Linda, no affiliation.
Member, Yolo County ARES.
Okay, Ralph, I got you checked in. Somebody came in right behind him. It sounded like you said Yolo County ARES. Can you come back to me again?
Good evening, Carl and the net. This is Dan. Kilo Foxtrot 6. Hotel, Hotel, Hotel. Woodland, Yolo County ARES.
Hello, Mr. Triple Hotel. How you doing? Good to hear you.
All right, those were some examples of hearing some doubles. And as net control, the best thing that you can do is acknowledge who you heard, or at least part of who you heard, and work through them one at a time until everybody who thinks they were part of that double has been acknowledged. If you can't make out anything, then just say so. You heard a double, you couldn't make it out, and ask the stations to try again. And hopefully with just the randomness of the stations who are trying, they won't try again at the exact same time. It's just one of those things that generally it works out. It only takes 1 or 2 tries, and you can get all those stations that were in the double cleared out, and then just continue on with your script. Now, for our net, the beginning part of the net, we have our tactical call signs and we have our roster. And it's handy as you're reading down the roster when you're hearing call signs that sound kind of close, you have something to reference. So our roster makes it nice and easy for our regular stations. When it comes to visiting stations, this is where your listening skills really have to come in. We're not necessarily reading our roster at that point. We're just listening and recording down the call signs that we hear. This is where you need to really practice repeating your call sign back. The visitors to our net deserve to be acknowledged just as much as our regular stations do. But they may not all have the exact same discipline. Some are maybe a little unsure. They might speak a little too fast. They might speak a little too soft. They might swallow the mic. It's okay to have them slow down and repeat their call sign if you couldn't get it. So if I do November 6th, blah, 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 and net control says, the visiting station starting with November 6th, can you try again, please, slowly? And if I say November 6th, Sierra Alpha Charlie, or maybe I use some weird different phonetics, Sugar America Canada, do your best to repeat back with the ITU phonetics and say, all right, we have November 6th, Sierra Alpha Charlie. Thank you for checking in. That's great. Don't let it get frustrating if you have to ask for a call sign 2 or 3 times. Sometimes they're on an HT and not in a very good spot, and there's a lot of noise. Sometimes they're very low on the audio. Don't feel frustrated and don't be embarrassed if you have to ask for their call sign 2 or 3 times. And remember to repeat their whole call sign back to make sure you got it right. If a station is still struggling and you didn't quite get something right on their call sign and they call back with a correction, that's okay. We want them to call back with a correction so that we can get our roster correct for that net. So as net control, be open to that. Be prepared that somebody might have a correction for you. And this would be true the other way around. If you're participating in somebody else's net, make sure that they record your call sign, your tactical call, that they recorded your check-in correctly. But you can still see where the confusion would be if you go November 6th, blah, 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 and you kind of sort of give up and say, okay, we've got you checked in, and you really didn't get their full call sign. That's not doing it properly. We want to make sure we record everything correctly. And if it takes a couple, 3 times, that's fine. If it's just so noisy or scratchy, you just simply cannot make it out, maybe after 2 or 3 times, you can politely say, listen, I'm having a hard time hearing you. Let's continue with the net and we'll come back. that would give that station a chance to maybe try something else, go to high power, switch to a different transceiver, move to a different location. But you can be polite about it. You can just say, I'm having a hard time hearing you. I'm going to move on, but we will come back. And then you just keep going with the net. Make sure you do go back and try to listen for that. You might get help with a relay from another station. All of this is in the vein of making sure you get all the call signs correctly that are checking in. All right, so acknowledging stations, you can never go wrong with acknowledging their call sign. Sometimes, when appropriate, a tactical call will work just as well as a call sign. And if you couldn't do either one of them, if you couldn't hear them clearly, make sure you repeat it back and get the full thing. All right, well, there you have it, acknowledging stations during a net. Thank you very much for your interest in net control. And until next time, this is November 6th, Sierra Alpha Charlie, out.